Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. As we look at the satellite picture here on this Friday morning, we've got plenty of shower and thunderstorm activity across the central U.S., all the way from the southern plains, Texas, and Oklahoma, northward into the Midwest here, Missouri, Iowa, and Wisconsin, seeing some of those showers and storms, even a few rumbles of thunder here across the Mid-South, across portions of Tennessee early this morning. We can see that all when we look at the radar picture. Again, a big area of showers and storms from the upper Midwest down into the central plains. These storms across Oklahoma and Texas beginning to fade. And then we've got these storms here across Kentucky and Tennessee. We're going to continue to see several more days of thunderstorm activity across portions of the Corn Belt. And as we look at today's forecast, we've got a marginal risk across portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley here across southern Michigan, Wisconsin, down into eastern Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, and then a slight risk down in southern Missouri. As we look at tomorrow, Saturday's forecast, we shift our attention to the northern high plains. We've got a slight risk in place with an enhanced risk across the western half of South Dakota. And very similar placement as we look at Sunday then. An enhanced risk across the Dakotas again, North Dakota, into portions of northern South Dakota, far northwestern Minnesota with a slight risk surrounding that. The reason for that, well, we've got a very tropical air mass, and we're going to have an upper level wave moving over the top of that here across parts of the northern plains, which is really going to be our focal point for more organized, widespread severe weather, and that will extend into the Canadian Prairie at some points as well. So we just look at the thunderstorm index here that we run here at Nutrien. Again, just kind of taking a look at the environment that's available for these thunderstorms. A huge section of the central country, or of the central U.S., pegging a very volatile environment, and that's largely driven by instability, the heat and the humidity available there. Not a lot in the way of wind shear, upper level support here to get really long-lived thunderstorms. That's why we're seeing kind of these clusters of storms that are moving rather erratically and are expected to die out for the most part as we head into the morning hours. But those boundaries kind of floating around here in the midsection of the country. Now that's why the reason for the big marginal risk across, again, the central U.S., the mid-Mississippi Valley here, all the way into the Great Lakes, as because of this air mass right here, it's several of those boundaries kind of floating around. We could see some thunderstorm clusters popping back up as we head into the mid to late afternoon. Now, as we head into Saturday and Sunday, that's when we're going to see the more focused severe weather threat across the northern plains, a very warm, unstable air mass in place across that region. This is Saturday evening. And then let's take a look at Sunday evening then. Again, a widespread area of the northern plains, right where that enhanced risk is, pegging those very high values, suggesting a volatile environment for any thunderstorm that does develop there to tap into and produce some severe weather. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at the reason for that, again, a tropical air mass, warm and humid, plenty of instability, and then we've got an upper-level disturbance that's coming in from the southwest that's kind of lifting into the Intermountain West as we head through the next 24 hours, and then as we get into Saturday evening and Sunday, begins to eject across the northern plains. So let's take a look at that here. We'll play this through the weekend here, getting into Saturday morning. Now you're seeing this wave. This is the one that really kicks off the organized severe weather threat across the northern plains here on Saturday evening, and then again on Sunday evening. We'll then watch the tropical storm here, or tropical disturbance. This is Cristobal that's going to be making its way up through the midsection of the country as we get into the early part of next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, before it's kicked off to the north and to the west by this trough as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. And the exact interaction there is going to have a big impact on the path here and who sees, kind of a wild card dumping of rain here as we head into the early part of next week. Surface winds are really going to begin to respond to the trough pushing in across the Intermountain West into the northern plains, and that means they're going to be ramping up out of the south-southeast as we head deeper into the weekend, looking at things here Friday evening, but then really as we head into Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, seeing these very strong winds across the central and northern plains, probably going to be blowing anywhere from 20 to 40 knots at times, and then we'll do the same thing here as we head into Sunday afternoon and evening. A very strong flow out of the south, out of the southeast in advance of this area of low pressure moving across the northern plains. Now, as we take a look at dew points, again, we've got plenty of moisture for these storms to tap into. You can see the flow here being pulled into the northern plains. But what I want to point out, while we're still going to see an appreciable severe weather threat across this region as we head through the weekend, I think that Cristobal down here is actually helping to mitigate that threat just a little bit, because instead of having an unimpeded flow from the Gulf of Mexico here, drawing this warm, humid air northward all the way to the northern high plains, we're seeing flow around Cristobal kind of keeping the flow off the Gulf of Mexico suppressed a bit. We've got kind of easterly and then northeasterly and then northerly flow coming off the Gulf of Mexico. So that kind of cuts us off from the real deep moisture. So while we're still pulling plenty of moisture up here for thunderstorms, I think that we might have been talking about a much bigger severe weather outbreak across the central and northern plains this weekend if it were not for Cristobal down here kind of doing its own thing and wrapping the moisture back around instead of allowing the transport straight north if we only had that trough ejecting from the Intermountain West. So a lot of detail about a little facet of this, but I found it kind of interesting here how we're kind of mitigating that severe weather threat with this wild card. But of course that means we need to talk about the chance for some precipitation as we head into early next week. Let's look short term. Let's kind of dial it back here. I'm trying to balance between the weekend and Cristobal here. But let's look at how things evolve here as we head through the weekend. We're watching showers and storms across portions of the Midwest here early this morning, and as we head into Friday afternoon and evening, again, a very unstable air mass across the central U.S. with boundaries kind of floating around. So while we're not looking at a real focused, organized severe weather threat, be on the lookout for some of these clusters of showers and storms to pop up across the circled region here as we head through the afternoon and evening. The more organized thunderstorm threat begins to emerge here Saturday and Sunday across the northern high plains. As we get into Saturday afternoon, we'll watch for severe thunderstorms to erupt kind of over the mountains here, and then lifting off to the north and to the east, spreading across portions of Nebraska and the Dakotas. As we get into late Saturday evening and Saturday night, potentially a squall line or an MCS then racing across the Dakotas into portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin as we head into the late Saturday night and Sunday morning hours. We'll reload then as we head into Sunday afternoon, watching for thunderstorms to once again ignite across this region as the next front begins to move through. Total precipitation then just over the next 60 hours. This is going to take us to noon on Sunday. Again, the heaviest precipitation going to be focused here where we see those thunderstorms erupting Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and then potentially moving off to the east as we head into late Saturday night into Sunday morning. Across this region, any precipitation is going to be from thunderstorms kind of popping up in disorganized, erratic fashion along some of those boundaries late Friday into Friday evening. So then we turn our attention to Cristobal. We have to watch here where the track of this storm is going to happen, or we're going to be taking here as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, because that's going to make a big difference here in where the heaviest rain falls here as we head into the early part of the week. And right now the National Hurricane Center has Cristobal making landfall here across Louisiana as we head into the overnight hours Sunday into Monday, and then making its way into the Corn Belt here across portions of central Illinois by the time we head into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. What does that mean? Well, total precipitation between now and Monday morning from the European ensemble. And again, we see the threat for severe storms across this region, disorganized thunderstorms across portions of the Midwest. But then let's take it all the way through the next week, and you see a big change here, a big obvious corridor from Cristobal as we head through the early part of next week, with significant precipitation possible here Tuesday into Wednesday and Wednesday night across the midsection of the country. As we take a look then at the European model forecast here for precipitation, again, we'll watch things quickly through the weekend since we covered that pretty well in advance, watching for disorganized thunderstorm activity across the midsection of the country this afternoon and evening, watching for a more organized severe thunderstorm threat here Saturday from the Intermountain West across the Dakotas into the northern Great Lakes, with the potential for an MCS to track across this region Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then we reload here Sunday afternoon and evening with a severe weather threat here across the Dakotas into portions of northern Minnesota. That threat could continue into the overnight as well across portions of the northern plains. So then we head into Monday morning. Now we're watching Cristobal starting to make its way northward. A lot of the ensemble models here continuing to have this thing kind of come straight north, right through Arkansas into Missouri as we head into Tuesday morning. So we head into Tuesday afternoon and evening, looking for more widespread showers and storms across the mid-Mississippi Valley, across portions of Missouri and Illinois. We've got a frontal boundary associated with that trough that's coming across the midsection of the country that's going to help kind of lift Cristobal off to the north and to the east as we head into the middle part of the week. So here we go into Wednesday. We're heading into early Wednesday morning now. This will be Wednesday afternoon, now into Wednesday evening. And now we've got Cristobal kind of making a transition into a mid-latitude cyclone, a more well-defined area of low pressure across the midsection of the country, dragging a front across the Corn Belt. That's going to bring in some cooler and quieter weather here as we head into the middle and later part of the week. Now, a potential wild card that I want to watch out for is a solution that the GFS is throwing out there is kind of keeping a front stalled across this region And that could mean the chance for some thunderstorms even as we head into the end of next week and next weekend. Even though the European model here keeping us dry, let's pay attention to this as we head into next week. That's something Eric will be covering. So the ensemble forecast from the European model, each of these an individual model run, and the track for the center of low pressure for Cristobal. Again, we see pretty good agreement here with that coming right up through the central part of the country, just west of the mid-Mississippi, or the Mississippi River. But still, each of these tracks would make a pretty big difference here in about 100 miles, 150 miles in the heaviest precipitation. It's not going to be a real widespread rain event. It's going to be a concentrated corridor of significant rain here Monday through Wednesday. So the European ensemble model, the probability of an inch or more of precipitation between now and Monday night, a lot of people are going to be staying on the drier side. They're not picking up all of that precipitation. Up here, the highest probability across the Dakotas into portions of northern Minnesota, where we could pick up some excess precipitation here late Saturday into Sunday and Monday morning. We go ahead and add in the rest of the week then, taking it all the way through Friday night. We see Cristobal coming up, and then we also see the impact of that front then moving from west to east as Cristobal begins to lift off to the north, bringing in the chance for some locations here kind of along the Mississippi River and then east from there to pick up an inch or more of precipitation. Your high temperatures as we take it into early next week then, warm across a big chunk of the Corn Belt, 80s and 90s for the day today. We see a little bit cooler weather here across the Great Lakes, 70s, 60s as we head into Saturday, with warmth building across the high plains. Begins to expand across the high plains into the Midwest again as we head deeper into the weekend. Here are your highs for Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday.